right, Katrina, hi, welcome. Happy summer. How is your summer going?
It's going pretty well. We've had some illness going through the family, but otherwise we've been trying to enjoy the time off from school.
Nice. And I should say, this is Katrina Hofstetter with estate planning. She's an estate planner with Cornerstone Legal. Sorry, I should have introduced you first, but I'm glad you're having a good summer. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. You've provided us such great content before. We wanted to have you back. And this time we want to talk about powers of attorney for new adults. This is for
Sure.
kids going off to college, which I'll have one in a couple years, Christine in a couple years too, and I'm sure there's many more. And I had absolutely no idea that this is something we need to be so concerned about. You're just sending someone off. Um,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the fall semester is starting soon, and I'm sure people are, all the stuff is out at Target and Myers and all the dorm things, and they're these new adults heading off to college. Are there planning considerations for these new college freshmen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing to, get all the notebooks and the backpacks and whatever else they need for school, but there are some planning things to think about. And I mean, there are kids, but they're adults now. So they're 18 years old. As parents, we don't have perks or protections, whatever you want to call it. We don't have that anymore as legal guardians once they turn 18. These new adults, our kids, are going to have to, manage their own finances. They've got to make all their financial decisions, file taxes, do insurance, like all of those crazy things that they've maybe never done before, or never on their own.
They don't
And
really get
then,
taught in school this.
no, they just don't. I mean, they don't even know how to write checks sometimes. So there's all of these new things that get thrust at them from a financial perspective. And then they're also going to make their own medical decisions. So, do they have to find a new doctor or dentist if they go to school away from home? Do they have to find a new pharmacy, or do they have to deal with the insurance company?
Mhm.
There's just a lot of things that come up. And, many of them are going to still rely on their parents to help or assist them. But that's not necessarily possible if we don't have planning documents in place. So
Yeah,
having things like financial and healthcare powers of attorney in place are going to make sure that when those kids or those new young adults turn to their parents, it's possible for them to step in and help.
that's great. Yeah, it's just something that you don't even think about.
Mhm.
Um, so what type of documents would be important to send them off before they go to college?
There are really two kind of standard documents that I consider as being important for those new young adults. You've got the financial power of attorney and the healthcare power of attorney. The financial power of attorney is going to appoint an agent, and that agent is going to have power, authority, access, whatever they need
Mhm.
to protect their property, manage income, expenses, handle tax matters, all of those things that we were just talking about, insurance, just
Sure.
generally take care of them from a financial perspective. And then most people are pretty familiar with a healthcare power of attorney, but
Mhm.
same kind of idea. It's going to have the individual appoint a patient advocate, and then they have power and authority to assist with medical decisions. Or, if they're completely incapacitated, they might have to make the medical decisions themselves.
Sure.
And then, I recommend those documents, but if somebody wants to avoid probate, you really have to have those documents in place because those documents help you avoid the probate, conservatorship and guardianship.
Oh, wow. And those documents, is that something you send with them or you just have at home or both?
Yeah, really both. So I typically recommend that any type of planning document, whether it's will, trust, power of attorney, that the originals stay with the client. And it's kind of weird to think about this, but technically that new young adult, that college freshman is the client.
18-year-old.
I know. So you would, send off the originals with them, or mom and dad could keep the originals. In most cases, they're gonna, name mom and dad.
Mhm.
But I always recommend that whoever they appoint at least has copies because, they don't have to walk around with the originals. They shouldn't have to take the originals to the bank or the hospital. Copies should be good in that case.
Okay. And can you explain probate? It's just kind of a concept hard to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it is something that most people don't really understand.
Till you get there.
There's a lot of stigma, so negative stigma associated with probate. And then there's other people that have had really, truly negative experiences with it. So there are some justified feelings there, but in general, probate is just a government legal process that addresses needs for people when they don't have planning documents in place. For instance, if a person doesn't have a financial power of attorney and then they become incapacitated, the only way for somebody to have power to step in is if they go get a probate conservatorship. So it's kind of like a government backup plan almost.
Okay.
And there really are quite a few reasons why people want to avoid probate. Obviously, it's public. So you could go down to your local probate court, they usually have a couple of computers in the back. You can use them, look up a case. You can pay for copies of documents from somebody else's, complete stranger, somebody else's file. So it's very public. An example would be if you have a probate conservatorship because you don't have a financial power of attorney, all of your assets, all of your income, all of your expenses are going to get publicly disclosed on an inventory as well as an annual accounting. I mean, I don't want people to know that stuff about me. So that public nature of it is a big deal breaker for a lot of people. Another reason that people don't like probate is because there's cost involved. It's one thing to, pay to have somebody put a financial power of attorney in place, but that's a one-time, like once it's in place, it's done.
Sure.
But for most people that have to go to probate, they need legal advice. And because you have to do an accounting every year, you're just shelling out money every year for an attorney to help you do that. So cost is another big one.
Definitely.
Probably one of the other big issues that I see a lot is if you have probate guardianship or conservatorship, there are people that get involved in that you maybe don't want to have involved. So certain family members have to be notified. It could be parents, siblings, adult children. So if you're an adult and you have adult children of your own, whoever your legal heirs are under Michigan law are the people that are called interested parties, and they're going to get notified about everything. And so some of those people, you wouldn't want to have included. You might be estranged from someone, you might have conflict, but then all of a sudden they're going to get involved and know all of your business. So that's another big one. And that comes up a lot. And that can all be avoided if you just put the financial and healthcare powers of attorney in place.
Okay. Now you tell us what we need to do that. If we have kids going to college, we want to avoid probate.
Absolutely.
What are some of the steps?
Well, when it comes to planning for any client, my process always starts with an intake form. It's a basic form that's going to gather personal information, asset information, and then information about your people. So who do you want to have involved? And then I do a consult. If we're talking just a couple of powers of attorney for this new young adult, it's going to be pretty quick, maybe 15 minutes. And it can also be done virtually. We run a home office and I meet with a lot of clients on Zoom, but I can also travel to clients. So just anywhere in the state of Michigan.
Make it easy.
Yeah. And then in that 15, 20 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about powers of attorney. I want to make sure they understand how they work and, what the ramifications are. And then I try to help guide them to a decision about who they want to appoint. I think, sometimes you can get young adults in that situation where they feel like they have to pick, one parent or the other, or like they don't have the option to maybe pick somebody else. So I'm trying to have that conversation with them. And then we gather a little bit more information, put together a plan for when we're going to sign it. And then we just sign everything up.
Okay. And this would be with the parents and the student together or just the student?
Not necessarily. I actually try to meet with them without the parents there because they really are the adult, they're the client. And even if they are going to appoint the parents, I don't want there to be any question later on that there was, maybe somebody put pressure on somebody else to pick them. So I like to meet with them separately.
That makes sense. Yeah, definitely. Some privacy.
Yeah.
So how would one get started reaching out to you if they want to start this? Because I can't imagine now, knowing this, going off to college without it. So important.
It is. It really is. And it's overlooked a lot. So There's a lot of ways. You can call the office. I'm usually the one that's going to answer the phone. So that's 517-708-2222. You can text to that number as well. So what are we like? Gen Z, I don't even know what gen we're in
Yeah.
now, but they like to text. So
I don't even know what a phone call is anymore.
I don't always like phone calls myself.
No.
So, so they can text as well.
Perfect.
And then emails work as well. So the email address is Katrina, Katrina at Cornerstone Legal, P like Paul, LLC.com. So
And we will link
any
all
of those
that in our
methods.
blog too.
Yeah.
So you have access to that.
Great.
I can tell you, I learned a lot just in this few minutes. I'm so glad to have known this. I did not know. You are a wealth of information, and we will be having some upcoming discussions about different topics this year. So we're
Looking
excited.
forward to that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Katrina.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great rest of your summer.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye.